Five, four, three, two, one. I'm John Miglosh for the Wisconsin DMA and the International Society for Strategic Marketing. Okay, as usual, we got a lot to cover, so let's dig in. And first, we're going to start with Swizzlers. Starburst Swizzlers has a new vertical Starburst.
Vertical.
First vertical. A set vertical.
Vertical. Sorry.
What's that?
I don't always watch these before I see them.
Okay, so vertical.
Okay, well, anyway, coming to a store near you, right? So now we got to shut this off or it's going to keep going. Okay, so I hope you try those Starbursts. I get no money from that, of course, as you know. So now let's get over to the real news. News deserts grow across the U.S., probably because of climate change. No, it's not that kind of desert. 200 counties or so have no newspaper in their county, and the digital news is not filling in the gap. You can't find out where the fireworks displays are just by looking on a digital version of your old newspaper. Okay? So this is serious. Don't laugh. 1,800 communities that had a local news outlet in 2004 were without one in either print or digital at the beginning of this year. So, what are you going to do about it? Start one, right? Now you got low overhead. You can do this every day if you want, with all the news that anybody wants in your local community. All the news that's fit to print. All the news from Lake Wobegon, where the women are strong and the men are good looking and all the children are above average. To steal that from Garrison Keillor. Okay, this South Korean e-commerce giant could take on Amazon. Coupang. I don't know if that's how you say it. But anyway, Coupang is able to deliver most of their stuff. If you order it before midnight, it'll be on your doorstep at 7 a.m. the next day, which is good because if you go off to work, you don't have to worry about somebody grabbing it in the middle of the night because, you know, who's up at 7 a.m.? Not the evil people. They sleep in. We all know that. So, but it works perfectly in South Korea because more than half of all South Koreans have downloaded the app. They're very tech savvy. And 99.3% of orders are delivered in under 1 day. The company has lots of warehouses. 70% of the people live just 10 minutes away from a Coupang center. So that's the play. All you have to do is figure out where 70% of America lives, and you're good, right? So you put them, and there's probably a lot of real estate available right now because you're going to be in the downtown areas. Go buy some burned out warehouses and rehab them, take out the windows, and you're all set. Anyway, they're going to go public, and it seems like it ought to work. If they, if instead of what Amazon did, which, remember, Amazon started in an age where you had to go buy books at a bookstore, and then you'd go and ask for the books, especially if you're like me and read weird books. They would never have it in stock. Hey, Lawson. They would never have it in stock, and so, they'd say, but we can order it for you. And all Amazon did was turn that screen around and give it to you on your PC. That's what Amazon did. So they were competing with retail that couldn't deliver. That's how they started. Retail never could get it to you. Not only couldn't they get it to you in a week or two, but then you had to go drive back to the store to get it. Okay? Well, now the rules have changed. So now you'd start with the warehouses in the downtown areas, which, as I said, you can get a deal. I'm going to have to call my son-in-law who does big real estate. They're doing some Amazon distribution centers. And this might make some big sense for him. I'm going to tell him to go after these guys. Because we always need competition, and everybody needs the new toothbrush by 7 a.m. That's just the way it is. So buckle up. And speaking of buckle up, you don't need to buckle up on this LeTour de France virtual tour. Because they're going to do it on the Peloton type bikes. Zwift, which is a competitor, but no one, at least I haven't ever heard of it. And apparently you can have invisibility cloaks and speed boosts like Super Mario Kart. But, each competitor, and I don't know if these are real, the people that are going to be competing. The LeTour is actually going to run in August. And of all the sporting events that don't need to worry about social distancing, bicycling seems to be one. Now, granted, the Peloton does move as a group, but there's a lot of wind around. That's why they do it, because they block the wind for each other. Okay, so I don't think the chances of spreading it through the race are any. The only thing that might happen was people would line up and but even then, it's mostly spread all out. Even the people are spread out along the tiny mountain roads. You just can't get to some of these race venues. So anyway, they're going to do it virtual. I'm going to tune in. It starts this weekend and just see what's what. Because as I said, there were ways to do this. But I really liked what Fast Company had to say. They said, "These are the finest hamster wheels that money can buy." They run between $2,000 and $5,000, and I'm sure they'll put green screens up and stuff and show the mountain views all the way along the route. I don't know what they'll do. They could take the little follow car and make it look like they're. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see how they pull it off. So I will tune in. Okay, Microsoft closes permanently. No, not Microsoft. Just their retail stores, which nobody went to anyway. Raise your hand if you've ever even seen a Microsoft retail store. Not me. And why would I ever go? And why would I ever want to buy a Microsoft, what are those things called? I don't know. The Microsoft Surface that only works on a hard surface. You can't use it on your lap because it digs a groove into your leg. If I've ever seen the dumbest computer design ever, that's it. And who uses a laptop as a tablet? Maybe Gen Z, but not me. That's the dumbest thing I've ever seen. And then the worst of it is Lenovo copied it for a while, so I got one of those accidentally, and I hate it. I basically permanently rubber banded it to a stand, because if you move the screen around a little, the whole thing just flops off the back because it's like magnetically, the keyboard is magnetically attached. It's hopeless to move it. And after I dropped it and cracked the screen a little bit, trying to get up from my chair, I just wired it down. So don't worry about Microsoft. They didn't even have to fire anybody because nobody works at Microsoft. They just collect money. They run to the bank. Okay, why is print a digital champion? That's a great question, right? Why is print a digital champion? And so Lauren Ackerman is going to take her swing at this. And I thought it was pretty good on Brand United. They don't put up new articles as much as I'd like. They should have. But anyway, she said she worked at an agency and said we were data driven before it was cool. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Catalogs, I decided to stick with catalogs in the digital age because catalogers at least knew what was what. They kind of knew what was going on. And I wanted to work with people that knew what was going on. And that's why we've got machine learning working. I got a call yesterday, out of the blue. Someone I hadn't talked to in about a year. And they said, "You're still alive. We see your videos. I got somebody who wants to do the AI ROI in 90 days guaranteed." So a new company is coming through the door to see if we can beat the challenge, where we beat what they're doing by at least 20%, or poof, we leave them alone. Sounds like a great challenge, although if you've heard our latest results, we averaged about 160% gross margin over cost, or gross margin per piece over 3 tests, one in fall, the holiday season, one in winter, preview, and one in spring, right in the middle of the COVID. And that one was 163% over their gross margin per piece. So it wasn't even close. And that's what happens because we know machine learning. So if you want to tiptoe into machine learning, don't hire a data scientist that's going to try and invent it for you. You know, I mean, we used to use word processing packages that our IT department had created, believe it or not, before there was actually good software. You know, I remember using PC Write for my master's, and before that, actually, I used the TRS-80 that had no hard drive, little floppy disks that were this big, you know, and would actually literally bend. So in those days, you just used whatever software you could find. That's the way machine learning is now. You hire somebody, they put your data on the cloud, and they use the free tools. And they think the more data they have, the better it will work. Anyway, so print is high cost, high touch, high impact, whereas digital is low cost, low impact. Okay, and it's a trade-off, and you can do things in digital that you can't do in print, like get it there on the full moon. And we actually build a full moon variable to analyze your customers. And for some clients, it's dramatic how well it works. Direct mail has higher response rates, but here's where direct mail really shines. And Lauren, you don't know this one because nobody does. But what happens is print is tactile. Print can touch a customer a handful of times a year at best, but it's high touch. It must be handled, you got this right, even if it's to toss it into the recycling bin. What that means is that there's guaranteed engagement. And because we mail to the house, and then if they order, we ship to the house, we know that everybody saw it, every household had to look at it, and every household either decided to buy or not. We have that. And that's what's called a labeled data set. We know the reaction to the mailing piece. What does that do? It lets us build a guaranteed dependent variable that's solid. What does that give us? That gives us something to compare all the independent variables. We use machine learning tools, SPSS, if you've ever heard of that, proven. We use about 400 variables out of the box on our test. 400. We have 5 tests, but basically the 4 are, we let the machine learning tell us the best correlations between the dependent variable and the 400 variables. It finds ones it likes. Then the old guy, modeler, decides whether those make any sense at all, picks one. Then we validate every model against another data set from your previous historical mailings. Boom, boom, boom. Then, after we validated it maybe 20 times, we put it in the mail. And we see the actual results in the real world. 4 tests of validation. So not only do we beat what you're doing, but we give you insights into your customers that can be leveraged for 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times growth in the next few years. And that's why we set up a long-term contract for where we win. The studies prove it. 53% of Gen Xers and 41% of millennials say that they open and read catalogs when they get them. And the rest of them are probably lying. Or they have a partner that likes Talbots. I never look at Talbots. They don't have anything for me. But I might like Orvis because they have flyer odds, or Bass Pro. You know, one man's junk mail is another man's treasure. Can't help that. That's just the way it is, right? Okay, and what is print success? Print success is making money. That we got, that digital hasn't really figured out yet. Now, here, how do we measure the print results? Well, the best way in terms of the allocation of impact is holdout tests. With print, You cannot mail a segment of the people you would have mailed, and you can actually see the impact. You can look at the differential on the customers you didn't mail. What were they worth in the next 2 months after it dropped versus the customers you did mail? And usually it's about 300% ROI on the cost of the print. 300% EBITDA ROI, profit. For every dollar you spend in catalogs, you get $3 back of bottom line profit. Try stopping your digital. A lot of companies are cutting out Facebook and Google right now, and Twitter and Instagram, because they're mad about those channels not censoring enough content. Oh, that's a really good strategy. But anyway, advertisers can do what they want. But guess what? Will it hurt their sales? Maybe not. We'll know in a couple of weeks. And if it doesn't, it just proves my point even more strongly. Print is measurable because we can stop it. We know who got mailed. We know what they ordered. We know what their value was 2 months later. So we can measure exactly the impact. Lauren, you need to figure out that holdout test. You don't mention it once in here. I'm John Miglosh. Have a great day. Like and share. Your friends will think you're smart. Bye-bye.